It's been hard to have expectations lower than the last 2 years of the Memphis Grizzlies. I go into 2023 knowing that we have to start the season with a Ja Morant 25 game suspension. I'm like, okay, if we make the plan, I'm okay with that. If we're sixth in the Western Conference, I'm okay with that. Instead, our entire team gets injured. We win 26 games. We don't win the lottery. We don't get some crazy lottery luck. We end up with the ninth pick and draft Zach Edey and never sign a center. So going into 2024, we got a rookie starting at center. Not too sure what we're doing with the rest of the roster outside of John Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson. It's not much there. Go into it, I'm like, all right, since everyone's actually healthy, I would like, and there's no suspensions, I would like at least, a top six finish. This is before we knew the Rockets were the Rockets and the Warriors had Jimmy Butler and the Lakers were going to get Luka Doncic. I was like, I'm just asking for a top six finish. They end up torpedoing the second half of the year from the second seed in February to the eighth seed in April. Now, I do want to give some proper discourse around Memphis. Yes, you can call them an eighth seed. That's 100% what they were. But the difference between them and the third seed was 2 games. So you can say the same thing about the Lakers. Oh, they were in a great spot last year. They were a third seed. They were 2 games away from the eighth seed. So I'm not going to sit here and act like they were so far out of it. But back to my original point, it's just hard to project underwhelming expectations and for them to be lower than the performance of the Grizzlies the last 2 years. With that being said, 2 games from the third seed. They go out and they trade Desmond Bane and they get all of these assets in return. They signed Ty Jerome. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was in that trade. They got 4 firsts. One of those firsts is a Phoenix first rounder unprotected next year. That could be a top 3 or number 1 overall pick. They have all the assets in the world, but the talent doesn't line up with the top 6 team. I'm not going to sit here and be delusional, expect the exact same thing I expected last year. It's just not right. On paper, the Grizzlies are worse than they were last year, but they are a lot deeper. And in an NBA that now values depth over big threes, you can argue that, yes, it might be lateral moves, but in this long, grueling 82-game season with an unreliable point guard, to have 2 reliable point guards in Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen, I think there is a chance because of their depth, it could be the most minor step up. That's why the final fill in the blank is the Grizzlies will finish blank in the West. Instead of 8th, I'm going to say 7th. Let's see if we can agree on this, Chad. I know I see comments about me being delusional about my team, but let's see if we can agree on this. I have the Oklahoma City Thunder obviously finishing ahead of Memphis. Same with the Nuggets. Same with the Rockets. Same with the Clippers. Same with the Timberwolves. I even have the Lakers, who have objectively let Dorian Finney-Smith walk, signed Jake LaRavia, signed DeAndre Ayton, signed Marcus Smart, who's played 50 games in the last 2 years. Whatever. I have the Lakers finishing ahead of the Grizzlies. The Warriors right now. So that's 6 teams I have finishing ahead of Memphis. Thunder, Nuggets, Rockets, Clippers, Timberwolves, and Lakers. The Warriors would be the first argument. They have yet to sign a center. Kevon Looney's not there anymore. They don't have outside of Quentin Post, they don't have a center on the roster. And they have not re-signed Jonathan Kuminga or traded him. So that remains to be seen. If they sign Al Horford, get a haul for Kuminga, or sign Kuminga, sure, Grizzlies are 8th. But until that happens, Grizzlies are 7th. I think they finish 7th in the West. The Kings, they're in no man's land. I'm not putting them above a Memphis team because when John Morant plays basketball, yes, it's not often, the Grizzlies win 61% of the games. Same goes with Jaren Jackson. They win 58% when Jaren Jackson's on the floor. Now they have depth around them. 7th is not crazy because the Kings are in no man's land. The Mavericks roster is extremely crowded and led by a 7-footer coming off a lower leg injury. And oh, by the way, they're going to be without Kyrie Irving for the entire season. The Trailblazers don't have the offensive weaponry that offers anything other than an 8-10 finish in the West. So if you want to sit here and argue with me about the Kings, Mavericks, and Blazers, go ahead. But I have the Grizzlies finishing 7th in the Western Conference, 8th if the Warriors get their shit together over the next month or so. That's just how I see it. I don't think that's delusional to have the Grizzlies as that caliber of team, and that's where I envision them finishing.